Pendle here from Soundust with the tiny binaural harpsichord 3. Now this is the new updated version of the tiny binaural harpsichord 2, and before that the 1, I guess. Basically it's a harpsichord, and possibly you wouldn't think a harpsichord's that interesting, but I've tried to make it kind of sound-dustily interesting. So it's got lots of different features and make lots of sounds that you wouldn't normally make with a harpsichord, but they still sound harpsichordery. And you've also got the prepared section here as well, which is a whole another ball game of harpsichordiness. And of course the other important thing is not only was the harpsichord I recorded tiny, which it was an Arnold Dolmetsch portable harpsichord, but as the name says, I recorded it binaurally, which involved tiny microphones in my head and my head inside the harpsichord. I wouldn't recommend doing that at home, by the way. Anyway, without further ado, tiny binaural harpsichord sounds a bit like this. There you go. And what you'll see, we've got different parts here, which you can turn on and off. They are the, let's just do this here first to make sure there's no release set. They are straightforward plucked, damped on the Dolmetsch thing. There's a kind of damping, which I can even show you here. There's a damping, not there, there's a damping switch, that fella there, and you flick that to one side and it damps the keys. Let's get out of there. And you've also got the off, which happens when you release the note. Although we can set any note, any of the sounds, to be the release sound here. Let's prove that. No release. Proper note off release. There it is. But you can also make, say, the damp be the release. See what I'm saying? Which gives you kind of slight different variations of sound. You'll be hearing that riff quite a lot during this video, I'm afraid. So you've got the on and off. Let's just turn those off. And down. For each one you've got an octave select, so you can have low against high for extra variation, which is quite nice. Or the other way around, up and down. Sounds like this. Even those things, just simple things like that, give you quite different harpsichord possibilities, which is a good thing, I think. You can also control click and it will go back to its default mode. So let's just go back to the pluck. This fella here is sample start, and it just moves the first few milliseconds around, so you kind of gives you slight variation of note. You can't tell as much because you're not playing it here, but there's possibly also a little gap at the start of that, so you get different kind of responses. Might be more obvious here. See? And that's interesting as well. If you have different start times, you get different slight variations as well. Okay. Pan, obviously. Width. Now this is already recorded binaurally, so it's already, if you listen to it in headphones, it sounds quite interesting anyway. Let's put that pan back. But you can also make it slightly wider, or you can monoize it like that. Or you can control click and it goes back to this kind of basically binaural setting. You've got here the amplitude envelope with the first one obviously is attack, and then you've even got the shape of the attack though, so you can make it so even that makes quite a big difference. It's just a way of kind of modelling different kind of There you go. It's just a way of adding more variation and more possibility, which I like to do. Below that, you've got a very sneaky new thing, which is a kind of notch, not a filter exactly, but it's a notch, boost and cut. So you can, this one here, notch up, and this is about 6 dB of boost or cut. So for instance, if I cut, then it's not always, oh, turn that off. Make that right again. If I cut, you can kind of hone into slightly different sounds, and with the boost, same kind of thing. That can be quite brutal, but it's just another way of tailoring the exact sound that you want, and it can be more subtle. So if you want a really zingy, there you go. It's zingy. If you want it a bit more oomphy, there you go. Can't hear it. Give it a bit more. Below that, transient, on and off. And this basically does that. So it's just another way of kind of modeling the attack and the sustain of a note as well. And you can do quite interesting things with kind of extremes. Or you can just turn it off. Below that, you've got the convolution reverb section, and you've got 24 different convolution reverbs to choose from. I like Ghost, and this is how much there is of it, and this is the stretching of the convolution reverb, so, or short. See, control click puts it in its centralmost place. So you can play around with. And that's just one of these articulations. And it's when you start playing around with different variations between them all, you kind of start getting interesting harpsichord possibilities. Over here, these are now your master effects. So after all that's happened, it goes into here. And the bottom two are send effects as well, which come from there before there, if that makes sense. Starting off, voices. For crazy, almost super saw style harpsichords, which is a intriguing concept, or very drunken, out of tune harpsichords. Or just a harpsichord. There you go. Let's get rid of that. Dirt. Now this here, the filth one, is quite filthy. Tape adds a bit of edge, going into distortion a little bit. Filth is complete kaput. So use at your peril, or turn it all off. EQ section, you switch them on here. So this is a master EQ over the whole thing. And then you've got an output, boost, cut or boost as well. Straightforward, but very useful. Rotor, God, you've got to have a rotor, haven't you? It's a kind of Leslie effect cabinet thing for doing speed. And various controls you've seen before on my instruments. Delay, now this one is a drag, quite literally. So drag it that way. There's your time and your... If you want less of it, drag it that way. So you've got damping, stereo-ness, and feedback control. So obviously, damping makes it more tape-like. Stereo has it pinging left and right. There you go. And reverb on and off here. Mix, amount, obviously. Size. Damping as before. Stereo. Width again. So that's for your haunted harpsichord. Those are the very kind of basic, quick and easy controls. I'm trying to make this as usable as possible, but also as kind of as variable as possible as well. You've also got a big page here where you can actually arrange the whole way that the velocity responds. There's three velocity levels generally. So you can do things like fix everything on the same level, or draw in the levels of velocity you want. And it's just a way of kind of tailoring your keyboard playing and your keyboard to how you want it to sound. RTFM, read the flipping manual here. So it talks you through what all those controls do there, and then shows you even a picture or two of what a harpsichord looks like, or this particular harpsichord. So quickly, let's go through some presets here. That was the default one I was playing with. The thing is, it's about playing with it yourself, but there are 25 presets as well for you to. Let's just randomly grab a few. Got that wrong then. Lots of variations, but still harpsichordy. Persuade me. Probably getting rid of that, sick of that riff now, aren't you? Okay, so there you go. That is the Tiny Binaural Harpsichord 3, but that's not all you get. What we also have, let me just mute that, is the prepared version. Let me just set that so I can actually play it. Okay, so this is now another 200 or 300 samples of crazy stuff from a harpsichord, and it's mapped out so that you've got a sequencing engine, which is controlled by the pink fellas here, and then you've got a one-shot, a selection of one-shot kind of kits. Currently being messed around with by the chaos button, so even one, it's the same sound. We'll put it all back together again, like that. Okay. And for each key that you hit on the white fellas here, you've also got an articulation section as well. So you can, for instance, so that's the same sound, but with a fake drag control. Over here you've got two reverb sends, more convolution reverbs there. Hold that one. So you've got two different kinds of reverbs. You've got tune, you've got filters, low pass, and high pass. You've got, which isn't obvious when you got that on, you've got, let's take it off there, attack, decay, volume, obviously, pan. Okay, simple as that. So you've basically got numerous crazy possibilities, and if you can't think of them yourselves, you just hit that. You've got a new kit, or that. And the way this whole page is organized is that you think of these as an octave. So the first one is the C. So every time I hit a C, see, there you go, that'll affect every C on the keyboard. So that tuning will affect all of the Cs. Now you also notice that when I do that, all of those go there because that's the quick system. So that when that isn't selected, only you can individually do everything. But when that's selected, the first one becomes the daddy. It's just a quick way of kind of, you can even have fun with that, ordering everything. And the same goes when you're chaosifying, if these aren't selected, then they don't get chaosified, which is useful. Okay, so that's the one shots. And then you've got the Boink engine, which is the one shots poured into a chaos engine, which you may have seen in my other instruments. And if I find the right octave, so you can basically sequence you select your track here. So you've got 12 tracks, you've got 12 sequences. So each sequence is triggered by a keyboard, by a note on the keyboard here in the pink. And then you merely select a track. Let's actually clear this whole thing. Let's clear the pattern. Okay. So if you select a track, here, the bottom one is where you insert a sound. Now there's lots of sounds mapped across. Let's put that on one bar. So there's many different sounds. And okay, sounds terrible. So then on this side, you've got the various sequencing tracks. And you can then, let's say I'm going to go with that. If I go into the hold section, this is decay. Volume is how loud they are. If you don't select it, it goes to full volume. Same with all of these. If nothing is touched, then it just stays at full normal mode. So you can start building. Over here we've got a reverb. Let's put a bit of reverb on there. You've got a filter, low pass. Crazy stuff. Sample start. I'm just randomly. So it's whereabouts in the sample. So it's basically more variations of the sounds. I'm going to get rid of it, just do that. Pan. If you want to clear that in one go, hold down Control, drag. Transient Designer, monkey, will give kind of basically subtle compression style effects. And then you've got a tune thing as well. Just a very good way of instantly, and that's just one track. You've still got another 11 tracks to fiddle around with. Let's just do that. Oops, shouldn't have done that. You've also got the remix. Let's get rid of those. So we just stay on the one track here. Remix thing then does crazy stuff to your pattern as well. You've got 32 different craziness algorithms. And all this is automatable, just right click and then you can automate everything. So you're never quite sure what you're going to get then. And then turn it off and it goes back to how it was before. Sound chaos is a drag, quite literally. And that plays around with the sounds that it's actually playing. And it does this for all of the sample tracks. And timing really messes around with the timing. So you can end up in craziness there. And you can also combine both. So you can have a track there going. So you can still play your one-shots on top of that. So it's a kind of crazy Baroque drum machine. Everyone needs one of those, surely. So I think that'll do. Tiny binaural prepared harpsichord and tiny binaural harpsichord. Thank you very much. I have been your Pendle, and this is Sound Dust. Speak to you soon. Bye-bye.